The major reason behind that is, or the main reason behind that is, when it comes to the C programming language, it is an effective and an efficient programming language. Now, when I speak about efficiency, I consider two things. So, one is with respect to the time it takes, and the other is with respect to the space it is going to utilize. Okay, so we call C as an efficient programming language. Efficient programming language. Okay, the reason behind that is, C is a programming language which utilizes very less time for its execution. So very less time for execution. Okay, C utilizes very less time for its execution, also utilizes very less space for its operation. Okay, due to these two reasons, we end up utilizing the C programming language. So it's a very efficient programming language compared to all other languages, as it utilizes very less time for its execution, also utilizes very less space for its operation. So that is the first reason why we are studying C. Okay. The second reason why we are trying to study C is system software development. So whenever you have to develop any software, so we are going to make use of C. In fact, yes, C is called as the mother of all programming languages. So because of that reason, we will be using the C programming language for our operations. Then C is used in embedded software development. C is used in OS kernels development. So one of the reasons why C was introduced was to develop the kernel of an operating system. Okay, so the kernel of an operating system is also designed with the help of the C programming language. Then to design firmware, middleware and drivers also, we make use of the C programming language. Now, firmware, middleware and drivers are a set of instructions which helps the hardware to communicate with the other hardware, or which helps the operating system to communicate with other hardware, or it helps the software to communicate with another software. So that we call it as firmware, middleware and driver. Okay, so firmware is nothing but it is a set of instruction written, and that instruction will let your built-in hardwares to communicate with other hardwares. Okay, so firmware is a set of instruction written which helps the built-in hardwares communicate with other hardwares or the operating system. Middleware is a program written which helps a third-party application to communicate with other third-party applications or to communicate with the operating system. And driver is another application written. So this, or it is another software written. This helps your external hardware devices to communicate with your operating system or with your other devices. Okay, so that we call it as driver. So firmware, middleware and drivers are all developed with the help of the C programming language. Okay, then kernel. Many of you are asking for kernel. Kernel means that is the heart of the operating system. Okay, for example, you take your Windows, you take your Ubuntu, you take your Kubuntu, you take your Mac OS. Each one of them will have a kernel. Kernel, we call it as the heart of the operating system. So that kernel will have a program written which will manage all the operations of your operating system, as in which program should be running at that moment, which hardware is being utilized, which hardware is free, which input output resource is being taken care of right now. All of that will be considered with the help of your kernel. So kernel is a program which will help you handle the tasks of the operating system. So that is also written with the help of the C programming language. Kernel is nothing but a program. Okay, it is the main program of your operating system. Then the file system development is also done with the help of the C programming language. Generally, how do you copy paste? How do you copy paste in your programs? How do we copy paste your files? Okay, so when we do copy paste, we say Control C, Control V. Okay, or hardly you might right click, select copy, you might right click, select paste. Now, please remember the understanding of that. So when you say Control C, there is a program running in the background. In fact, there is a C program running in the background which copies the contents and pastes it whenever you specify or wherever you specify. So behind that Control C and Control V, there is a program running. Okay, a program is running in the background which helps you develop the file system. Okay, so please remember these are some of the applications of your C programming language. So the C programming language is being used in all of these things. So it is used in system software development, in the embedded systems development, in the operating systems kernel development, in the firmware, middleware and driver development, also in the file system development. So these are some of the basic examples where C is being used. But apart from this, C is being used in many other fields. Okay, so that is nothing but the applications of the C programming language. Okay, Dinesh Babu is asking, could you please give me the difference between C program and embedded C? So ideally, C program, advanced C, embedded C, they all are same. Okay, so C is like you are learning all the features of the C programming language. When I say embedded C, few features of C will not be utilized. Okay, few features of the C programming language are not accepted while you are trying to design an embedded system. So that is why we call it as an embedded C. Very few features of the C will not be available for your embedded systems design due to certain restrictions of your microcontroller. So for that reason, you will not be using the features. We name it as embedded C. What is C++? Okay, C++ is an advanced version of C. Okay, is there any better language for embedded systems? Not just for embedded systems, for every application you want to design, the best suited programming language is nothing but your C. Okay, for every single application, the best suited programming language is C. Okay, then how old is C programming language? Is it better than Python? So C is the very old programming language. Okay, C is called as mother of all programming languages. So C helps you improve your logical thinking. C helps you get better in problem solving skills. So whenever you use the C programming language, whenever you study the C programming language, please remember that it helps you improve your logical thinking and builds a great foundation for any programming language to be learned. So that is why when your focus is to study any programming language, we ask you to study C compared to any other programming languages. Okay. Then adding few things about firmware, middleware and driver. I will write it here. So firmware is nothing but a software or a program which helps the built-in hardwares to communicate with other hardwares or the operating system. Okay, then coming to middleware. So this is again a software or a program which helps the third party applications, which helps the third party applications to communicate with other applications or operating system. Or the operating system. Then driver is nothing but it's a software or a program which helps the external devices external hardware to communicate with other hardwares or the operating system. So that is nothing but driver. Okay, so these are the applications of your C programming language. Okay, so moving on, these are some of the important characteristics of the C programming language. So it is a simple programming language. Okay, so it's a very simple programming language which is used to apply and effectively get used in other domains. Okay, it's a general purpose programming language. You can use it in any fields of your choice, and you can use it in system software development, driver development, embedded systems development, and so on. So C is a general purpose programming language. Then it's a free formatted programming language, means while typing there are no restrictions to be taken care of for the C programming language. Okay, so there are no restrictions. If you want, you can write a 100-line code in a single line, or you can write a single line code in 100 lines also. Okay, so that is the advantage of C programming language. It's a free formatted programming language. There are no typing restrictions to be taken care of for the C programming language. Then apart from that, it's an effective and a portable programming language, which is important to be considered. Okay, effective, as I said, efficiency speaks about the time and space. The C programming language utilizes very less time for its execution, also utilizes very less space for its operation. So both efficiency and portability plays an important role. Portability because any C program you write in one system works the same way in other system also. Any system you take, it works the same way. So that is the advantage. Efficiency and portability are the most important considerations to choose a C programming language. Then library facility plays an important role. So you have support for good library, means you have good number of built-in functions like printf, scanf and all. You have limited yet good number of built-in functions which helps you perform the operations well. Okay, so because of that we end up utilizing the C programming language. Now these are the keywords which is available in the C programming language. So under data types, there are a total of 32 keywords. Okay, we have a total of 32 keywords. Out of the 32 keywords, here if you see, there are categories. So on the left hand side, we have categories to which the keywords belong to. On the right hand side, you have keywords provided. So under data types, you have 4 keywords: char, int, float and double. Under modifiers, you have 4 keywords: signed, unsigned, short and long. Under qualifiers, const, volatile. Under loops, we have for loop, while loop, do while loop. Under jumping statements, we have go to, break, continue. Under decision making, we have if, else, switch, case and default. Under storage classes, we have auto, register, static, extern. Under derived, we have struct, union. Under user defined data types, we have enums and type defs. And under others, we have void, return and size of. The entire C module revolves around these 32 keywords. Okay, the whole C module revolves around these 32 keywords. Okay, so if you study these 32 keywords, then you are done. So your entire C module is about utilizing these 32 keywords effectively. Okay, but as I said, we will not study all of these keywords here in the internship. So how much ever is necessary will be taken care of, and how much ever is important for the project to be done will only be taught here. Okay, so on the left hand side, what you see is the categories to which it belongs to, and on the right hand side, you will see all of the keywords which it belongs to. Okay, then okay, so Likita is asking, why don't we use C for web app applications development just like Python, Java and C++? They all are front end developments. Okay, they give prominence to the front end applications, whereas C gives prominence to the back end applications. Okay, so C gives prominence to the most important things to be taken care of, back end applications. So that is where C is used. Okay, modifiers are nothing but the ones which change some of the properties. They are called as modifiers. Auto, register, static, extern. As I said, we will not teach each one of this. Okay, so all of these keywords have their own importance, have their own necessities. So we will not study all of this, because in fact, if you ask me, we end up utilizing 50 classes to study all of these topics. Okay, in these 5 days, we will only focus on how much ever is required for the internships project to be done. So we are not going to study all of this. So don't waste your time in asking what qualifier is, what auto does, what break does and all. So have patience. We will study few of them here, and how much ever is necessary, we will only focus that. Okay. Ma'am, is C enough to become an embedded engineer? Okay. With respect to the programming language, Akhil, if you ask me, yes, for the programming language, C is enough. But to be an embedded system engineer, you have to learn how to program an embedded system. So just studying the programming language is not enough. You will also have to practice how to design an embedded system, which you will study in the next module. So after you study that, then yes, I would say that is enough to become an embedded software engineer. Just the C programming language is enough to have to become an embedded software engineer. Okay, right. So don't worry about the PPTs and all. You will be able to get it anytime. So once you get the access to LMS, you get all the necessary resources. Okay. Who's this? Sumedha is asking. I'm not able to chat regarding my doubts. Please look into the issue. Sumedha, please type under questions. I will be able to see your questions. Okay. Sushant is asking, C language is used in backend or frontend? Mostly it is for the backend's development. Okay. Now, let us start with the basic C programming. Okay. We will start with the basic C programs to be written. Now, whenever you want to run any C programs, you can do it with the help of any application you have. So you have Turbo C, you can utilize it. You have VS Code, you can utilize it. You have no applications installed, then you can make use of your online compilers. Okay, there are some online compilers. If you go to your Chrome, so there is something called as online compiler which you can try. So let me show it here. So I'm showing you a window. Here you can search for online compilers or online C compilers you can search. So whenever you search for it, okay, when you say online C compilers, okay, when you search for it, you will see many applications. Program is one of the application you can use. Online GDB is another platform. Okay, so this is how program looks like. On the left hand side, you can write your program. You give run, you will see the output on the right hand side. Okay, otherwise if you use online GDB, I prefer online GDB. So in case of online GDB, you can write your programs here. So once you are done writing your program, you can click on run. You will see the output here down. Okay. So here you will be able to see the output. So whichever platform you are comfortable, you can use it. So if you have any of the built-in applications downloaded, you can utilize that also. Okay. So from my side, I'm going to utilize something called as VS Code. So I have a software called VS Code. I prefer typing my codes in the VS Code. Okay. Now in the VS Code, if you see, I have one editor window where I can type my program. So I will also show the output from my side. Okay. For every program, I will run the program and show you the output also. Okay. Do not worry about it. But remember, whichever you are comfortable with, you can utilize. So online GDB or your program or your VS Code or there is WSL or there is Turbo C, whichever you want, you can use it. So the focus is you have to run the programs and experience, see the output. Okay. So do not worry. You don't have to install. Okay, as I said, you don't install any applications. It is not necessary. Okay. Now coming to this is how typical a C program looks like. Okay, this is what you will see inside a C program. So let me show you here. Whenever you are going to write a C program, so you will have a documentation part written. Okay, documentation part in the sense it is the information you are writing about a specific file. So whenever you are going to write any program, you want to store any information regarding that program, you can do it in the documentation part. Okay. Then after the documentation is done, you can go to preprocessor statements. Okay. So preprocessor statements is where you will write some basic starting code which are necessary for your program to be written. Then you are going to write some global variables declaration. So if you want any global variables to be declared, that declaration is done under global variables section. Then after that we will write the main code. The main program will be written, and after you write the main program, you will do some function call, and after you call some function, you will also write the definition of those functions. Okay, so this is the high end way of writing your program. So first you will have the documentation part written, then you are going to have the preprocessor statements written. After preprocessor statements, you write some global variable declaration, then you are going to have the main code written, and at last you will call the function. Okay, now let's say this is your program. Okay, an example of a C program. So this C program has a documentation part. Okay, documentation part is nothing but the basic information you are going to provide. So after the documentation part, you will write the preprocessor statements, which is nothing but #include stdio.h. After the preprocessor statements, if you have any global variables, they will be written here. Okay, all the global variables will be written here. Then in the main function, we are going to have the statements written. Okay, so here in the main function, we write all of our statements to be executed, and at the end we write a return 0. Please remember the syntax hereafter. Okay, whenever we are writing, the very first line is #include stdio.h. So this is our first line. Then the second line is int main. And whatever statements I want to get executed, I'll write it here inside the int main. Then I will add one return 0. Okay, here I will write all the statements to execute. Okay, so we are going to write all the statements to be executed, and then we are going to have a return 0. So this will be the syntax we will follow to have our programs written. Okay, now let us start with the basic program. So assume you write one program. Okay, so assume you are going to write one program. Now, do you think your computer understands whatever you are going to type? So you write one program. Okay, so assume you have written some program. Do you think your computer will be able to understand whatever you have written? Okay. So basically, no. Okay. Whenever you have written a program, your computer cannot understand everything you have written. Okay. Now please remember, after a program is written, it is necessary that you convert the program to a machine understandable language. So any program you have written cannot be understood by your computers. You have to make it understandable. You have to translate it. So to translate it, we are going to make use of compiler. Okay. So please remember, your computers can only understand things said in terms of zeros and ones. Your program is not written in terms of zeros and ones. Program is written according to your information or according to your syntax. So these programs are to be converted to a machine understandable language. So this compiler is like a translator. Okay, it's a translator. So this is going to translate the program you have written to a machine understandable language. So this converts user return program to a machine understandable language. Okay, so that is your compiler. So compiler is a translator who converts your program to a machine understandable language, means something in terms of zeros and ones. Okay, so there are many compilers available in the market. Your online compilers are different. The compiler what VS Code uses is different. The compiler what your Turbo C application uses is different. But all of these compilers are converting the program you have written to a machine understandable language. Okay. All right. Now let's have some program written. Okay, we are going to have some program written for our future use. Okay, now most of you are asking why int main, why return 0. Let me tell you, many of you are used to use void main. Okay, many people write it like this, void main, and inside this you write the statements. Now why we generally write int main is, it is to thank our operating system. Okay, it is to thank our system. Our system is getting the program executed. So after the program is executed, we have to thank our system back, telling that thank you, you executed my program well. So that thanking is done by having a return 0. So when you write return 0, you are thanking the operating system. Okay, so that is a good practice which we will be following hereafter. So make sure to use int main and return 0 always. Okay, now let us start writing a program. I want to store some data. Can you tell me the different type of data we might deal with? So what are the different types of data? What are the different types of data we have? Okay. So the different type of data we have got is, one is integer data, the other one is character data, and the other one is real number. Okay, so we have three different types of data with us whenever we have to deal with. So one is integer, the other one is character, third one is real number. So assume I want to store these data in the computer's memory. Okay, so I want to store all of these data in the computer's memory. So when I have to store these data, I have to request for the memory. Okay, I have to request for the memory. Now how to request for the memory is by specifying what type of data I will be storing. In order to request when I have an integer to be stored, to tell my computer I want to store one integer, give me some memory, I have to use a data type called int. To request my compiler to give me the memory for a character, I have to say char. And for real numbers, we have float and double. Okay, so we have four different data types. We call it as basic data types of C. Integer, character, float and double, we call it as basic data types of C. So whenever I have a specific type of data to be stored, I have to request for the data, and the request is done based on the data type. So how to request is, you specify the data type and the variable's name. Okay, so I have to specify the data type and the variable's name. For example, assume I want to store one integer. Okay, I want to store one integer. So when I want to store one integer, okay, you are going to say it as int. Let's say I want to store one number, so I'm going to say int num. Okay, when I say int num, my computer gives me some memory to store one integer value. Okay, your computer gives the memory to store one integer. Okay, so it gives some memory to store one integer value. Similarly, when I want to store a character, okay, I want to store a character. So whenever I want to store a character, I should say char, let's say ch. Okay, so now your computer gives the memory to store one character. Okay, computer gives the memory to store one character. Do you people know how much memory your computer gives? Do you people know how much memory your computer gives for integer, for character? Okay. Now coming to integer, the memory is defined in terms of bytes. Okay. For weight we have grams, for liquids we have liters, for every single thing we have a measurement. We have a tool of measurement. Okay. So for the memory, measurement is in terms of bytes. Okay. Measurement is in terms of bytes. Now let me tell you, an integer gets 4 bytes depending on compiler. How many bytes an integer gets depends on compiler. Okay. So in most of the compiler it will be 4 bytes. In very few of the compiler it will be 2 bytes also. Okay. So I can say it depends on compiler. So it is either 4 or 2 bytes. Okay. Then coming to character, so this gets 1 byte of memory. A float gets 4 bytes and a double gets 8 bytes. Okay, 8 bytes. So like this, memory gets allocated. I'm writing a simple program. Okay, data types dot C. So the same program you can write it anywhere and you can run it and see the output. The first line I'm adding comment. This is my first C program to learn about data types. Okay, this is what I'm adding as a comment. Then I'm writing #include stdio.h. Then int main. Okay. Now, so I want to store one integer. Okay. To store one integer, I will be writing int num. Okay, store one integer. So num gets 4 bytes of memory where I can store one integer value. I want to store one character, char ch. This is to store one character. Okay, so this is to store one character. So like this, you are going to declare the variable based on the type of the data you have got to store. So int num will store one integer, whereas char ch will store one character variable. Okay, just like that you can take a float value, float height, and you can say double age. Okay, now what is the difference between float and double is? Float gets 4 bytes. Okay, both float and double are meant to store the real numbers. Float will have less accuracy. Okay, it will have less accuracy, whereas double will have more accuracy. Double will get 8 bytes and I will have more accuracy. Okay, so that is height and age. So based on the type of the data, you are going to declare the variable. Okay, so based on the type of the data, you are going to get the variable declared. Now let us see how many bytes each of these are allocated with. Okay, so I want to see how many bytes are allocated. Now, do you people know what function should I be using to print something on the screen? Which function should be used to print anything on the screen? So the function to be used to print is printf. Okay, the function to be used to print anything on the screen, we call it as printf. Okay, so let me write it here. Function to print anything is nothing but your printf function. Okay, in the double quotes you have to specify the type of the data to be printed, type of data, and you can specify what data to be printed. Okay, like this. This is the syntax. In the printf, you specify what type of data to be printed and what data to be printed should also be given. For example, let's say num is assigned with the value 10. Okay, so num equal to 10. So I got 4 bytes of memory and 10 is stored inside it. I want to see what is that. So first printf I will say hello. Okay, I want to print a message hello, I will use hello. Then one more printf. I want to print one integer. To say that it is integer, I should use percentage %d. Which integer should it print? It should print the value of num. Okay. First, I am printing a message called hello. Then, I am using one printf to print the integer. First, I have to specify which integer to be printed. Which data to be printed. Then, I have to specify what data to be printed. First, which type of data, then what is the data to be printed. Now, I am going to show you the output. Observe, here you can observe the output. Okay, so I am compiling. I am letting my code convert to a machine understandable language and I am executing. Okay, do not worry about all of this. You can see first printf printed a hello, second printf printed a 10. Now after every printing thing, I want a new line to be printed. That is when I can add a \n. Okay, \n like this. So I can add a \n. Adding a \n will print a new line every time. Okay, you can observe here. I can see a hello and a 10. So to get a new line always, you will be using a \n. Are you people getting this? Okay. Why percentage %d is what Nandakishore is asking. Percentage %d is to convey your system that you print one integer. It is like a shortcut. To tell please print one integer, you use percentage %d. Okay. So Sushant is asking, ma'am, in 32-bit architecture for integer is 2 bytes, 64-bit architecture it's 4 bytes. Am I right? Basically, Sushant, the size of integer is not only dependent on your architecture. Okay. The size of integer is not entirely dependent on the architecture. It depends on your architecture, also the compiler being used. Okay. So based on both of the things, the size of integer is decided. So size of integer is 4 in some compilers, 2 in some other compilers. Okay. Kavya is asking why we have to keep semicolon in the end of the statement. That is a part of syntax, Kavya. So that is how the C programs are to be written. Every statement should be terminated with a semicolon. What is the difference between int main and void main? Shahrukh, I think you did not hear to what we spoke. So in case of int main, you are thanking your operating system to complete the execution. In case of void main, you are not thanking your system. That is the only difference. Okay. Now let us print some other type of data also. Not just integer, we will print other data also. Let us print character now. So whenever I have to store one character, I should always specify it in single quotes like this. Then for height, I am saying 15.0216. For age also I am storing 15.0216. Okay, so something like this. Now to print a character, okay, in fact you can tell here the integer is percentage %d. Percentage %d prints the value of num. Okay. Similarly, you can say here printf. The character is percentage C backslash n for a new line. Percentage C prints the value of CH. Then printf the height is percentage F. To print a float value, it is percentage F. Backslash n percentage F prints the value of the variable called height. Okay, and one more printf. So one more printf here. Age is percentage LF backslash n. It is going to print the value of age. And one return 0. Okay, so this is the program I have written. I stored one integer variable called num with the value 10. CH is stored with A. Height is stored with 15.0216. Age is stored with 15.0216. I am printing one integer value. Percentage D prints an integer from the variable num. Percentage C prints a character from the variable ch. Percentage F prints a real number from the variable called height. And percentage LF also prints a real number from the variable called age. Okay, now let me run this and show you the output. So you can see integer is 10, character is A, height is 15.021600, age is 15.021600. Okay, so that is how you are going to write your values printed. Okay, Dev Shah is asking, ma'am, if we know this all, then what we have to do next? So you just have to wait for the next topics. Okay. Then character we use percentage yes. No, Satvika. Percentage yes is to print a string. So you don't need that now. Okay. Akshit is asking, ma'am, int main always requires a return 0 statement at the end. Not always, it is up to you. You write return 0, it is a good option. You don't write return 0, you are not thanking it properly. Okay. Other than backslash n, any other option. Backslash n is to print a new line. Any other option is not there for a new line. For new line, it is always backslash n. What is the range of double and float? There is no range for double and float. Okay. So, no range for double and float. Okay. Now, please remember the difference. Difference between float and double. Okay. Difference between float and double. Okay. First one. I will take float on one side, double on the other side. Okay, this is float and this is double. Please remember, float gets 4 bytes. And double gets 8 bytes. Okay, gets 8 bytes. Then float we call it as single precision. Which means less accurate, whereas double is double precision, which means more accurate. Okay, for example, let's say I have float age is equal to 15.0987. Okay, I might lose some data. Which means I might end up having 15 point maybe 987. Just a minute. Okay, so I might get 15.098666 stored. Okay, some data might get lost. I might get this, I'm not guaranteeing it. So I might get 15.098666 stored. Whereas in case of double, it is more accurate. Okay, so double will end up having double precision, more accurate. There is no chances of losing the data, how much ever you specify. So you say double age is equal to 15.09999 only. It will never be lost. It remains like that only. So that is the advantage of double. So double is more accurate, whereas float is less accurate. Why we use percentage LF for double? So that is how you instruct your compiler that it is a double value. To say it is double, you have to use percentage LF. To say it is float, you have to use percentage F. Okay, Mohammed Suhail is asking, when will the Python session start? Python will not be taught here. We will be teaching only C. We are not teaching Python programming language here. Okay. So now moving on, let us see how to read the values from the user. Okay. So to print the values, you use printf. How to read values from the user. Okay. How to read values from the user. So to read the values from the user, we make use of a scanf function. Okay, using a function called scanf. Using scanf function. Now what is the syntax of scanf function is? Scanf, you specify type of data to be read. Type of data to be read from the user. Okay, then you have to specify where to store that data. Where to store that data should be specified here. For example, let's say int num. Okay, to read the value to this integer variable called num, I use scanf %d address of num. Okay, I am saying scanf, please read one integer and store it inside address of num. Okay. Now, when I directly add a scanf, user will not know what type of data should be entered. Okay. So, user will not know what type of data to be entered. Because user has no idea what type of data to be entered, it is always a good practice to tell the user what type of data should be entered. Okay, here I will say with a printf. Printf enter one integer. Looking at this message, user will enter one integer, which you read it with the help of %d address of num. Okay. So if you just declare the variable, you don't have any value of yours. there is some garbage value stored in the computer's memory. Okay, always there is a garbage value stored in the computer's memory. So you always have to use your printf function to tell what type of data should be entered. Then you can read it with the help of scanf function. So you are telling read one integer, store it inside address of num. Similarly, the order of you declaring the variables will not matter. Here I will say printf enter one character. Okay, so I will use scanf %c. I'm storing it inside address of ch. Okay, so %c will enter one character and it is stored inside address of ch. Then I'm printing integer, I'm printing character. Whatever I entered for integer will be stored inside num. Whatever I have entered for character will be stored inside ch. Then height, then age. Height and age I have not read, so it is expected to give me some garbage value. Just observe. Enter one character, I enter y. Enter one integer, I enter 100. So integer is 100, character is y. Height is 0. Okay. So then y integer value is 100. Because I entered 100, so it is 100. Okay, where can I find the recordings of these sessions? So you will get access to LMS, and in the LMS you will be able to access all of these recordings. Okay, now the next thing is, let us see how many bytes of memory gets allocated for each of these variables depending on the compiler you are using, size.c. Okay, so here this is the program, this is the program to check the size of the data types. Okay, now to know the size of these data types, I can make use of size of operators. So printf %d \n comma size of int. So I'm trying to find out how many bytes of memories are allocated for each of these data types. You can directly specify the data type here, okay, or you can specify the variable's name also. So how many bytes ch is allocated with, how many bytes your variable called height is allocated with, and how many bytes your age is allocated with. Okay, so like this you can see. Now let me compile, and when I execute it, it's okay, you can ignore the warnings. You can see size of integer is 4, size of ch is 1, size of height is 4, size of age is 8. So in my compiler, the compiler which I am using, so integer is getting 4 bytes, character is getting 1 byte, height is getting 4 bytes, float gets 4 bytes, and age gets 8 bytes because age is a variable of type double. So as I said, it depends on the size of, depends on the compiler you are going to use. Okay, so that is nothing but the size of values. Now, there is no specific range of values you can store. Okay, so you don't have any range for float or double, but for integer you have a range. Okay, why 6 digits after integer? No, where is 6 digits? Okay, you are asking for percentage f. By default, percentage f prints 6 digits after the decimal point, and percentage lf also prints 6 digits after the decimal point. So that is how the compiler is designed. Okay. When are you going to assign a project to us? Sakshi, the project is when you go for microcontrollers module. You have 5 days of C module to start with the project. Okay. Now coming to the modifiers. The properties of variables. Okay. Now, for example, let us say integer. Okay. I'll take one integer num. The size of integer is 4 bytes. Okay. So, the minimum value I can store inside this, the maximum value I can store inside this is different. For example, let's say I'm running a program. Okay. Range.c. Now, just observe int main. Okay. I'm showing what is the minimum integer value I can store, what is the maximum integer value. So printf %d, you can include a header called limits.h, include limits.h. Okay, then here %d equivalent of int minimum and int maximum. Okay, int maximum. Okay, now this is telling me what is the minimum value I can store inside one integer and what is the maximum value I can store inside one integer. Okay, so I'm compiling range.c. I'm executing it. You can see this is the minimum value and this is the maximum value. Okay, in one integer, this is the minimum value you can store and this is the maximum value you can store. Okay, in any integer, this is the minimum value and in any integer, this is the maximum value. Now, what if I want to store beyond this? That is when I can go for a long integer. So, long is a modifier. Long int num, like this. Now, the size of long integer depends on the compiler. Generally, it is 8 bytes. Okay. Now, if you ask me what is the size of long integer, just see here. To print a long integer, we have to use %LD.